But I think that it's really, really cool. Someone tells me that in any time to get something, you do have to give, right? You can't get without giving. And just seeing and hearing what you have gained in your life, like man, it's just awesome, right? But also, it's it's a little sad, right? The things you have to give, right? You have to get, you have to give to get what you get. But I think that's the kind of what you've already kind of explained. You can't see it why it's being woven this way as it's being woven.
Yeah.
But he's like, you put your faith in God. It seems like a lot of your story is like it will work its way out. Yeah. And man, I mean, like if it doesn't make sense at the moment, right?
Yeah.
But if it just keeps going, and then all of a sudden it's just like, man, I'm so it's hard in the moment. It's hard, right? Looking back at it, it's like, okay, I get it. Oh wait, well, yeah, that helped me out to where I'm at now.
Totally.
Now the future, what does that look like? What's the dream? What are you fighting for? What do you kind of want out of life? What's the what's the goal for yourself or for your life?
Totally. Well, I think the last 12 years of my life have, there was that foundation piece that I just recently named that you're asking about, like, growing up and then college. And then like these 12 years, I feel like have been so formative in, I think, forming deeper character, deeper understanding in who God was, being okay with questioning things and really wrestling with some deep truths, and the times where God feels silent. Like, what do you do in those moments? Do you just throw in the towel and say, forget this? I mean, I've had moments where I've just been like, what in the world, but every single time, like, he comes through. And I think really understanding his grace, because, growing up, I feel like there weren't any big things in my life that like were like, oh man, like that was a like horrible season, or like, I made some really, really bad choices or anything like that. And I'm grateful for that. But I think because of that, I didn't totally understand God's grace, and in being a parent, like, I mess up like often, like I'll get short or something because I'm stressed about something or whatever, and I have those moments, and I come to my kids. I think you were asking that earlier. Like, yeah, like I messed up. Will you forgive me? But anyway, it's really shown me how much of a sinner I am, I'm like, and so how much I am in need of God's grace. And that's just catapulted me into this new season, I think. I don't know the future, but I have that burning in me to teach. And I would love, as the kids are getting older, and doing their things or whatever, like the thing that I am excited about, even though it's not even totally clear, is just teaching the word of God in some way. I don't know if that's to like moms. I don't know if that's to, churches or groups. I don't even know, but I have this burning, like this increasing desire to do something, just, and to be able to share, like, out of vulnerability, that, the hard lessons that I've learned along the way. And with that prayer, I think that's been such a thing, that I just have been learning more about. And, I don't know, it's kind of like a ... Like, I don't know what that looks like, because I want to be faithful in my season right now and not look to the next season, even though that seems more exciting or whatever. Like, I'm really focused on the day-to-day faithfulness, and serving our kids and using that teaching for them right now. But then seeing, what happens in the future. So I feel like I'm cultivating that. Like, I really, anytime I have a chance to share or teach, like, I'm excited to do so. But yeah, so I'm not totally sure yet. We'll see.
Get excited then.
Yeah.
Well, I'm excited to see. The goal of the show is that in the future we hope to bring you back and kind of see how things have been over the last few years or whatever. The AM show, right? PM we'll do a. Hopefully you might want to join us on the evening, talk some craziness. But yes, that's been a big encapsulation of everything. Do you think we missed anything else you want to, play this video for your kids one day? Be like, hey, there's some part you missed. This is but do you feel like you did a good job kind of explaining everything in detail?
Yeah, I feel like I got it. One thing I think I just remembered was you're asking about the different personalities of the kids and stuff.
Yes,
I don't think
yes.
I'm funny. Like I'll start talking about something, then I just go off on a.
No, you're
different
good.
thing
I do
sometimes.
the same thing. So it's completely okay. I would love to learn.
Yeah, I was gonna say because I love my kids' personalities. Like, I mean, you met them. They're just more extroverted and people oriented, and
Yeah.
it's funny because I'm actually more, on the introvert extrovert scale. I'm a little bit more on the introvert scale.
Yeah.
Like, what do they call it? High functioning
Yeah.
introvert or
Yep.
whatever. So I definitely need that time to myself, which can be very hard. I have to get creative. But with extroverted children, except for my youngest, I think he's more introvert. I'm like, I gotcha.
We're on the same team.
But they've grown me, and like learning to parent kids that are just so different from me, you know, and really like partnering with them to help them, where everybody's at. Like every kid is so different and meeting their needs. But also just calling out who I see them becoming, I think has been a really key thing that my husband and I try to do. Just affirming that, in them. And, the times that I saw this really helpful thing online one time, it just really resonated with me, where like even misbehavior is a signal of strengths gone awry. So for example, like if a kid is really high on justice, like really cares about everybody, being treated fairly and stuff, but also has a sense of justice, like, and sees, a sister being mistreated, then totally like grabs the person that's hurt and just like, grabs, you know what I mean? It's like, okay, you
over
can't
here.
do that. You know what I mean?
No, I hear you.
That high sense of justice is like, hey, I love that you care about the underdog in this situation. That's so awesome. But that's not how you handle that,
Right.
And so it's that kind of thing, like teaching to their strengths instead of just like, getting down on them, for their misbehaviors or whatever. So I think
awesome.
that's been key, to keep like a positive parenting.
Any of them look like you though? Any of them kind of like that shy, like that? Any of them kind of have that personality when you were a child? Do you feel like they're kind of, man, I see it, and
My youngest, but it's been interesting. Like just in the last couple of months, I've seen just a new boldness in him. Where I'm like, I see my husband in there.
Yeah.
It's funny, which is good. I don't want my kids to just like follow, who I was or anything. I'm like, yeah, be brave, do it,
Run it.
Yeah.
You're brave. Clear, yeah, absolutely. I that story of growing brave, being more confident. You have to be in your comfort zone, man. If you blowing the bubble, you're pushing it. You're pushing your boundaries, and I mean, the trail of what you. I know that's hard to see, right? Because you're really good at focusing on kind of the moment. Yeah. I am a byproduct of your development. I'm a byproduct of kind of your teaching and being in I've only interacted with you for like, I think 2 years, right? So like that 2 years of instance have changed the complete direct trajectory of my life, And so like, I think that it's really, really, I mean, I wonder, I won't be the only one, clearly, the kids you were working with when you were back in college, the kids you were working with when you were in the leadership group, right, when you were in high school, and obviously some of the things you've done in the past, your kids now, like that, it's really kind of cool to see kind of like where your life has gone, and I think that bravery has definitely came from you. So exciting. I'm really excited thank you. I'm grateful to be able to kind of hear your story and get to hear a piece of you.
Yeah, thanks for having me. And I just want to give a shout out to you too, like, because I was even thinking as I was getting ready this morning, I was like, wow, like just such an honor to be here, I mean, seeing, teaching you in choir, like, and I told you this earlier, but I'm like, you were kind of one of my favorite, I guess you could say, if I can say that. But just because you were you had like you have a charisma about you, and you had this just great manners, just go at it. I remember when there was ever drama or something, you were one of the first like, hey guys, come on, come on. Like you'd jump in there and you'd be a peacekeeper and a leader, And so it was such a pleasure to have you in class. And when you reached out about this, I was like, absolutely, Jovonni, whatever you need. Like, I want to cheer you on and join you in that.
No, yeah, man. I think if I don't know, maybe I've gained a little bit of the braveness that you had. I think for me, I was always a kid to kind of just be on my own. I'm a very introverted individual. I know it sounds odd, right? I like spending time alone. But I think what's interesting is that I kind of have that sense of justice, I think, as one of your kids has. That sense of like, if I see something wrong, you got to step up and say it. My dad says this all the time. He's like, you're not Superman. You can't be doing that, And I'm like, oh, you're right. I'm not, I'm not Superman. I'm grateful, to be able to, because I've always been curious of your life and just like, man, how does great people like this become who they are, And it makes complete sense now. It makes so much sense. Just you all the people that you were able to kind of surround yourself with, the mentorship that your parents have gave you, the kind of like the way I think of it is the way you started, like the very first thing out of your mouth, your great grandmother, the sense of like, writing a book and going after the Oregon Trail, going on adventures. And it seems like that's what your life has been, going on an adventure and pushing forward, no matter how scary it may be, and constantly trying to figure out how you can become not only more confident, but just more closer to God. And I think that's really cool, kind of where your life where your family has started and where you're bringing your family to. So I am grateful. I know we both roughly are, but I think I really am excited and grateful to kind of get to know a little bit more about you. So we do have one final section. Okay. It's a pretty fast one. Sarah, me and Sarah have written down some questions for you. We call them deep questions. Okay. The idea is just to try and get a better understanding of you with like certain personality questions. So some of them may be kind of crazy. There's different levels to them, but we didn't get to order them. So they might just be all level 1 questions. Hopefully we're trying to start level 3 and then work our way up. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think we're going to, I don't think it's going to be like that. So awesome. You ready? Mm-hmm. Okay. So the first one is, what are the top 5 qualities you appreciate in a person?
Okay.
I write them down so you're like, wait, what am I, number 3? Number 4?
Yeah, thank you. Honesty. I think if they look me in the eye, that's like a big, I don't know, just that's a big one.
Trust in a way.
Trust. Yeah. Trust. Gosh, this is such a good question.
Shout outs to Sarah. She chose it.
Dependability. Yeah.
Oh,
it's good. Is that 3?
That's 3.
Okay. Maybe self-starter. Like, yeah. And I guess that would be kind of like independent or something. And I'm sure I'm going to think of other ones on the ride home, but I'm trying to think. Okay, one more. Like I should have said this. I think humble too.
Yeah, this is, honesty is really rough right now. People are, I think, even I fall into this a lot. Sarah calls me out on it all the time. She's like, why are you always making up stories? I'm like, I don't recognize that I do it sometimes, but I think you kind of value transparency now, because you don't really know if people are just doing what you think they want you to do, or they're just being true to themselves. But when I asked you that question, saying, hey, you're coming from Oregon, to California, are you trying to be someone different? Are you trying to like, hey, this is the new me? He's like,
Right.
no, I'm just trying to just learn music and be around cool palm trees.
Yeah.
It's just like, you're just being true to yourself. I can see how that honesty will play, and I can see how trust is a big thing as well. Dependability as well. And I love the self-starting. I think that's like that kind of entrepreneurial spirit, the spirit to kind of continue trying something new. Humility. I can definitely see that as well. Awesome. I love it. Okay. If you can go anywhere at any time, what would you want to show us? Or where would it be?
Clarifying question, like on a trip somewhere in the world or in my story?
Well,
Sorry, just to clarify.
no, I think it's one of those things where like you have been, right?
Okay.
Like somewhere that you have been that you would want to kind of show like, hey, I wish you guys can see this. I wish you guys can be there during this.
Oh, that's a great question.
Maybe even a time in your life.
Yeah. It's funny because I vacillate between like really high moments and then really low moments. And I think the times where I've felt like a deeper sense of hope and meaning and like connection with someone is through their hard moments, because I think we don't do each other any favors if we're like, yeah, join me on the high moments, guys. I mean, that's Instagram, right?
Facts. That's so true. So it's almost like, from what I'm hearing, it's like the moments where you kind of got that connection with God in a way that you wish someone could get that, especially for like non-believers. I think that's like a big thing.
Totally.
So get excited.
Yeah.
Sorry. So
the moment, do you want me to share them or just?
Yeah, no, please.
Time?
No, please. Yeah.
I think the time for me, was really wrestling through, having, one of our adopted daughters just going through a lot of just ongoing tough stuff, before, we were able to adopt her. And I think, but it would personally, I'm not going to share her story. That's hers to share. But like for me, walking through that, I think really purified some like wrong thinking about God. I think purified some like rough edges in my own life, and selfishness, where it was just bringing me to the end of myself. There's this one quote, I think it's from Dallas Willard. He was a great philosopher at USC. And, but he said, do you want to know what God's address is? It's at the end of your rope. And I remember just in that season, just having so many moments of just like, because our kids were like 7, 5, 3, 2, 1 at that stage. And I mean, so many little kids, and it was awesome and it was crazy at the same time. And so, yeah, that was like a refiner's fire for me. And just like, I can't do this, like I feel like I'm drowning, in needs and emotional stuff and just lots of things, personal growth. And yeah, it was in those moments of like, I'm at the end of my rope on like physically, emotionally, spiritually, and that is truly where I feel like God met me and surrounded me with, some people that could really help me. Yeah. So I would share that moment only because I want people, I don't want people to look at me and say like, oh, she's got it so together, like I used to want to be that way, like, yeah, inspire, whatever. Like, it's just, at this point to me, because people just need to know that they're not alone in their struggles, and I think, online culture has just created so much of like the high reels of every, and it's fun to post stuff.
Sure. Yeah.
But I think we run the risk of, creating no space for people to be able to just be real and in community with each other. So
Is that where the Unhurried come from? You mentioned that your kids going through this kind of process, big thing they taught you was patience.
yeah.
And I know you created your own personal brand. Excuse me. So if you can go into a little bit of like where your brand has came from, you're also trying to, you mentioned, spread that message,
Yeah.
So yeah, I love what you're creating here. It's called the Unhurried Farm. And this is something that you have personally made yourself. This is like, I don't know if I'm going to pull up to the camera because we're going to do some like, I'm going to do some like food cut stuff.
Oh, nice.
And like get the crunch in there and get the little, get the knife going. Where does that kind of, why the name? Because it's very intentional. Why the Unhurried Farm?
Yeah.
And what does that kind of cooking, baking kind of mean to you?
Yeah. Well, the farm part is, we have a half acre, so we don't have like a true farm.
Sure.
We have some chickens and we've got like a flower patch and a vegetable patch. So we've got enough to call it a farm, I think, from Southern California standards.
Let's go.
And I've always loved farm life, so it's kind of been like a fun thing for us. So, but yeah, the Unhurried actually came from, I think, 3 or 4 years ago, reading John Mark Comer. He's a pastor up in Portland. He wrote a book called The Ruthless Elimination of Hurry. And I loved it. And I know it's resonated with a lot of people in the last years. And the whole premise of it is, our culture, and I can say especially, in Southern California, just moves at breakneck speed. There's activities and coming from a parent's point of view, there's endless activities that I could sign my kids up for. There's this and that. And, just life can be so full. And I think for me, like I had a upbringing that was not rushed, we did lots of stuff, but I never felt hurried. But in that book, John Mark talks about like love and hurry are incompatible. And anything that we do in a hurry just never really ends well. You can see it from products that are made cheaply, like at the dollar store. Sorry, Dollar Tree, but like those are made in a hurry and they're not, and they just don't last long.
Sure.
Or, fast food, like that's not the greatest for us. And just lots of things that are done in a hurried manner, like hurrying my kids along, like, hey, we got to get somewhere right now. Like,
right.
I'm not being loving if I'm like barking at my kids, like, get your shoes on, So that's where, we really, as a family, my husband and I were just like, yeah, like, especially as, what we've decided to do with homeschooling, we can live a more unhurried life, it feels like, we keep a schedule and it's busy, but I think busy is different than unhurried or hurry. And so, and another quote was, hurry is the great enemy of the spiritual life. We've got phones, that we wake up to and all the stuff. We can just fill our whole day just chasing after stuff, and I'm guilty of that, from time to time. I've had to put parameters and stuff. Anyway, that's, a garden also is unhurried. You can't just like hurry up the carrots, like, come on, carrots, It's such a picture of reality that things that are healthy and, like this is sourdough. It's not made with commercial yeast. It's made with sourdough, which is fresh yeast from the air. So that's how we cultivate it. It's just flour, water, and the yeast from the air. And it takes time. It took like 10 days to cultivate the starter for that. And to make this loaf of bread started at like 9 a.m. yesterday and baked at 5 p.m., and you come back to it every hour to just stretch and fold it and knead it, So it's a labor of love. But I believe that everything in life that's worth doing, it's going to embrace some type of slowness to it.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the vision and just.
No, you can tell like there's some, like there's depth to it, and it's intentional.
Yeah.
I think
intentional.
I think there's some things in the world that you kind of people just do just because they need to do it, or they do
Right.
just because it's the routine. But man, there's some like real you have you have kids and you have a family and you have obligations and stuff, but you're taking the time to really make sure that like you show by example. This is what it takes to really do something and do something to the best of its ability. I mean, it looks amazing, by the way.
Oh.
Yeah, and I've had it. I mean, God, it's like it's just it's great. And That's really really cool. I think it's really awesome that you're really taking it forward. And again, everything has a message about your story and about your life and the things you do. Everything kind of comes from this. There's a meaning behind it, and I love it. I think that's really really cool. And I would also like to talk about the painting here. So we had MKC, MSC, that we call it. She's the one who kind of painted the painting for you today. She realizes that kind of like the whole farm aspect of you. We didn't really think of the farm. I guess we more thought of like the plants inside your home. But it takes time to grow. The seeds you plant takes time to grow, and I think she just wanted to make sure that. It's funny because the symbol of your brand is a plant as well. So she donated this painting to you. She wanted to say thank you for being on the show, and this was a blessing. Is there any other final thoughts or anything else would you like to talk about, or where can people find you? Like where can people interact with your work? Or I know we put it in the description, but I don't know if you remember if we can.
Yeah, I'm on the Unhurried farm on Instagram that I post occasionally, and just some snippets about what's growing on the farm right now, or just lessons that I'm learning in the thick of everything.
Yeah.